They're the eyes in the sky, the flying robots we call drones. These unmanned aerial vehicles were originally designed for military use in reconnaissance missions, or targeting the enemy from a distance, changing the way war was waged. Now they're in the hands of civilians, who are taking photos and videos. But in the UK, the focus has turned to how drones could transform healthcare logistics, flying life-saving medical packages to isolated areas.
It's fantastic when you speak to people on the ground and they go, oh, this is a trip which usually takes me 6, 12, 24 hours to move a product between A and B, and we can do it in 15 minutes. There's a huge amount of satisfaction with that.
When the pandemic arrived, UK-based company Skyports was already looking into how they could expand their drone delivery business.
Something we've been working on for just about over a year. Working through the technology, it's new technology, so it takes a lot of putting together, working through regulatory challenges, and again, like technology, regulation is actually quite new. But then COVID hit and we had a real acceleration in that part of the business, because we managed to get through regulatory processes in no less safer way, but a much quicker way, as the Civil Aviation Authority prioritised COVID-related responses.
In April, the team started working with the UK National Health Service, known as the NHS, and the Civil Aviation Authority to trial a drone delivery service between the Lornan Islands Hospital in Oban on the Scottish mainland and to the Mull and Iona Community Hospital on the Isle of Mull. As the head of Skyports operations, Alex Brown has to work out all the logistics.
We work with some of the world's best drone manufacturers to basically bring their drones in. We up-spec them to a level where we're happy flying them beyond visual line of sight, we call them, and then we operate them for the benefit of our customers, basically. So for a recent project we did up in Scotland, working with the National Health Service, delivering COVID-19 medical cargo, we worked with a company called Wingcopter. They're a company based in Germany. They make what's called a VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing fixed wing drone, which can go about 100 kilometres and carry about 6 kilograms. And we work with them to operate their drones for the benefit of the NHS.
Response time is vital in healthcare, but for the 2,800 island inhabitants, a trip to the mainland can take anywhere from a few hours to 36 hours, depending on when the ferries are running. But this drone can do it in the life-saving time of 15 minutes. It combines the advantages of traditional multicopters and fixed-wing drones. It takes off and lands vertically, but the 4 propellers can tilt, so when it reaches the correct altitude, they transition into plane mode for a faster, more efficient flight. It's powered by up to 4 16,000 milliamp batteries. One battery is equal to 4 phone batteries. It can carry up to 6 kilograms of payload, and the maximum takeoff weight is 18 kilograms.
So we have a central hub, and that's typically, for example, where a pathology lab may be located, and we're flying out to various spokes where there might be a medical practice, for example, or other hospitals where medical samples are being taken. So we base ourselves at the hub. We have a central station there where we have our remote pilots, who are commercial qualified drone pilots. They're looking over a laptop basically, and basically how a flight goes is they go through a checklist at the start of a flight, just as normal aviation does. Once the checklist is complete, they load the payload into the drone. So for example, that may be a COVID-19 testing kit, it may be new sample tubes loaded into the drone. They go back to what they call their ground control station, which is basically a laptop. They upload the mission to the drone, and then once that's uploaded, they click fly and the drone takes off by itself. So they do have a remote control to take over if they need to, but we very, very rarely need to do that.
During the 2-week trial, the service ran up to 12 times a day, with drones heading out to sea with their cargo, ranging from essential personal protective equipment, vials for medical samples, and COVID-19 testing kits. So did you have to up-spec that one to send it, because they're travelling a long distance, and Scotland, the weather's not great in Scotland?
A big focus area for us is the communications link. So I won't bore you too much with the drone sort of nerd tech details, but maintaining that link between your drone pilot and the drone itself. And basically when we do that, we use multiple communication links, so things like LTE, which is in your phone, SATCOM, direct radio links. So we typically up-spec those links to make sure that we're happy and the Civil Aviation Authority, who regulates our activities, is happy with how we're operating the flights and we're doing it safely.
And what's the cost of one of these large drones?
Yeah, they're expensive. I won't give you an exact cost, but I will say you could buy a very nice car for the same amount of money.
The pandemic has completely changed how we go about our lives, and for companies like Skyports, it's seen a change of focus. The other part of their business is developing passenger vertiports within cities around the world. While none are operational yet, a vertiport was showcased in Singapore with Wingcopter, with plans for the first flights to take off from here in 2023.
So Skyports is a business that does two things. It does infrastructure for passenger carrying drones, so we call them vertiports, but essentially heliports for new electric helicopters.
Do you think it's changed the direction of your company?
Heliports are still a key part, much longer term, so probably, 2022 to 3 years before we see the first passenger drone operations, so much longer term business, it's a longer term investment. The drone business is much more near term for revenue streams, much more near term for operations. We're out live flying every day now. So hasn't really changed the direction of the business, but maybe the near term focus, the near term capital allocations are slightly more towards deliveries than we'd anticipated at the start of the year.
Skyports also have a drone for urban deliveries, but it will be a couple of years before we'll see that developed for city environments. Right now, the focus is on rural locations, where the benefits are still being discovered.
The thing that really surprised us is we went up with an idea of where it might be useful and what the benefit of drones could be flying between islands and the mainland. And we certainly fulfilled those ambitions. But what we found was there was enormous engagement from the local community, particularly the doctors and nurses, around what we were doing. The experience that the doctors and nurses had with real life situations just completely broadened the scope of what we perceive to be the benefit. And in fact, next month, or in fact in September, we'll be back for the next phase of the project, which is another 3 months, and broadening the scope from one route A to B now to multiple routes, connecting multiple different healthcare facilities. And it'll be interesting to see, how much that increases the utility to the doctors and nurses.
It's all finished. Oh, don't worry. We've got loads more cool science and tech stories from Razor. All you need to do is like, comment and subscribe, and hit the bell button below for notifications. See you next time.